Hello guys, it's just me today. I'm going to be going through Tag Climax and just sort of introducing it and all that. Mainly because the way I'm going to approach showing off Tag Climax is a little bit different to the rest of the LP. I'll cover it at the end of the video. So yeah, Tag Climax is a new mode. It's co-op, online only, not local unfortunately. And touch controls cannot be used in this mode. The touch controls are they're workable, but I definitely wouldn't want to use them in online mode. So in Tag Climax you can play either against your friends or just random people on the internet, or even just a computer, and it's pretty much just an amalgamation of all the fights in the game, with varying difficulties. You can play as any of the characters that you've unlocked so far, so we can play as obviously Bayonetta, or Jean, or Rosa. And I finally went through and got all the costumes. The costumes are pretty expensive. I kind of feel ambivalent about these costumes. I never really felt that strongly about them, apart from the arc from the first game, which unfortunately is not in this game. But we do have classic Bayonetta, and of course all the Nintendo costumes. I will be just showing off the functionality and stuff of them later. I'm gonna go... oh god, the Metal Witch. Metal Witch is awful, what the hell were you thinking? I'm gonna go with the Schoolgirl because that's not so bad. There's a nice little Wonderful 101 reference in the description for that. I think it mentions the Shirogane High School, which of course is Wonderful 101's Shirogane comment. And I'm gonna play with a computer because I want to control what I want to do here. But you only get one set of one set of weapons in this mode, because I imagine having two sets of weapons for two players would absolutely murder the memory. So yeah, unfortunately only one set of weapons. Now I wish I had lingered on this select screen a bit longer, because there is a fair bit to go through on that screen. Here's the loading for the Tag Climax. I'm going to cut it all out because it's kind of tedious, even though it is a nice view. So in Tag Climax you fight against pretty much everything that you can fight in the story mode. So here I'm going to show off all the cards which I did not show off in my actual Tag Climax recordings, which is all of the cards you get from finishing the Witch Trials plus one other card. So you can see there's a couple of differences in the user interface, HUD, whatever. You can see your partner's health bar and magic bar, and you can also see that underneath that there is a number. That number equates to how much damage you're doing. Basically, more damage you do is more points. So as you can imagine, Umbran Climax, if everything hits, gives you a shitload of points. And obviously more points means you're winning. And then there's also that little crown icon next to that number that will show you who's currently winning at that point. There's also that little dial in the middle. That dial, it's kind of like a shared Umbran Climax. So basically how you do that is... oh, yeah, that's what it looks like when you lose. I'm going to pretend I did that intentionally. Yeah, totally intentional. But what was I saying? The Umbran Climax thing. So that dial in the middle there, if you attack an enemy, if you both attack an enemy that has the infinity symbol on it, you will build up that meter. And once it gets filled up, you get a shared Umbran Climax. Now it's not really evident in this video here because there's only one enemy on the screen. But in cards where there are more than one enemy, I believe the enemy with the infinity symbol will change. So if you really want to try and build up that meter, you've got to try and find the enemy where it goes to. Also, for some reason, sometimes reviving your buddy will trigger it. But yeah, you can see there that there's a set amount of time, and if you fill it up, you get shared. You both get Umbran Climax without having to use your magic for Umbran Climax. You can of course still trigger Umbran Climax by yourself without having to share it, in order to of course try to win. But you do share witch time, so if you get witch time, your buddy also gets witch time. But Umbra and Climaxes aren't shared, unless it's from the dial in the middle. I believe that's why I equipped Selena's Light, because it would have made it a lot easier. But yeah, Tag Climax is pretty fun. I mean, I've mentioned it previously, that it is a lot of fun and I spent a lot of time playing it when recording it for the purposes of this LP. It's fun. It's a great time waster. You get a crap load of halos from it. It's definitely much more fun for grinding halos than continually repeating, I think, chapter 14 in this game. But it doesn't really achieve anything. I mean, you know, there is a ranking system, but the ranking system doesn't really mean anything. There's nothing much to it, really. It's just a fun little mode, and I appreciate that they put it in, because it's pretty good. Anyway, I should talk a little bit more about that screen, even though you only see it very briefly. There are 6 cards, or 6 verses to a chapter, I guess you want to call it. And you got to complete all 6 cards in order to actually get stuff. You won't actually get stuff for doing Tag Climax unless you actually finish your 6 cards. What do you get for finishing Tag Climax 6 cards? You basically gain rank. And yeah, if gaining rank matters to you, do not want to die. Dying obviously works in the same way as it did in the regular game, but because you have a partner, what can happen is if you die and they're still alive, they can try to revive you. And I'm not really sure, but depending on the difficulty or which verse you're on, you get a bit of health back, and the amount of health you get back is different. Possibly depending on either the card / difficulty / verse number. Who knows? I don't think anyone has tried to grind out what exactly does what in Tag Climax, because it doesn't really matter. It's just a massive mass of hair and wicked weaves. What else did I mention? Oh yes, dying. So I mentioned that your friend can revive you, but if they don't revive you in time, or they die in the meanwhile, you both die. I'm going to show it off a little bit later actually. But when you both die, you just get met with the witch trials are over screen and the whole you're both dead thing. And you can choose to either continue or not. If you continue, you will start again at the beginning, that is to say verse 1, with the same loader and the same partner. Ooh, I changed to the policewoman outfit. Let's do the sneaky editing there. Like I said, I'm not really much of a fan for a lot of the outfits in this game, but I wasn't really much of a fan for the outfits in the first game either. Except for the Metal Witch. The Metal Witch is awful. Like, straight up awful. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this was mentioned in the interview with Hideki Kamiya and Hashimoto in that very hard to find guide for Bayonetta 1. That I think the policewoman was a scrapped idea for an alternate costume that they simply could not fit in the first game, because the first game was just filled to the brim with content. They couldn't fit anything else in. So they put it in this one. So as you can imagine, it's like, oh yeah, let's make her into like an office woman or a nurse or a policewoman. You know, that kind of typical like porn stereotype thing. They included it in this one. But at least they didn't include that baby outfit. Very shortly I'm going to show you what it looks like when you die. This is a bit of a problem when fighting the bosses. Only one person can draw aggro, and if you're not the one drawing aggro, then you're not gonna be able to get witch time, and witch time is pretty much required to actually do any damage to bosses. So you want to draw aggro. The best way to do that is with the whips, obviously, or you can, you know, just stand from far away and cheese it with Kafka or the chain chomp. But you really just want to get into the thick of it because otherwise you won't get any points. Now the major thing I haven't mentioned yet is the placing bets system. It was mentioned in that little screen at the beginning when you first enter Tag Climax, is that you bet halos and if you win you get more halos back. That's the main way you earn money in this mode. Obviously the more halos you bet the harder it is, and that equates to what difficulty it is. So 3 stars is infinite climax. You generally don't want to do that unless you know exactly what's coming up, because there can be some very unpleasant surprises in 3-star cards. For example, in this one here, if you do it in 3-star, you get 3 boulders. So Master Lumen, I think Second Lumen. Yeah, you get 3 boulders. Possibly 2 of these fabulous feather dudes, I'm not really sure. But you saw with the, God, I can never remember the name. The Audito. Yes, I finally got it. With the Audito fights, there's no change, and with, I think, most boss fights, like the big boss fights, they don't change at all because I can't imagine what they would have added to make that even harder. But with the human-sized ones, they can do shit like 3 boulders. I'm honestly not sure whether our Rooney has the same sort of deal, like 2 our runes. But, yeah. 3-star generally is pretty hard. 2-star is equivalent to 3rd climax. 1-star is equivalent to 2nd climax. 0 stars is 1st climax. And honestly, I don't really think there's much of a difference between first 0, 1 or 2 stars. Apart from the amount of damage they actually do. That's pretty much it. I don't really think it's much of a really major difference. But yeah, that is pretty much all I have to say about Tag Climax. I'm sure I've missed something. Oh yeah, you actually get a lot of points for reviving your friend. I think you get about 500 if you revive them, and if you generally if you revive your friend you will probably win. Purely because of that point difference. Now, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but there are 2 other unlockable characters in Tag Climax that you can get. Because when you finish the game on story mode and then also finish the witch trials, you haven't actually unlocked all the cards. There are some cards that you can only get through simply playing Tag Climax. They'll just randomly pop up. I think there's at least 5 of them. Like, that's just off the top of my head. There's definitely a good number of them. And 2 of them, once you complete them and finish all 6 verses, you will unlock 2 different characters. I'm just gonna say it now. One of them is Boulder, the other one is Radahn. Boulder plays pretty similarly to the witches in that he has a witch time equivalent, which is light speed. It just turns everything black and white or grey scale. And he has combo strings. Radahn plays very differently. He doesn't have a dodge button, he has a block button. He doesn't have a witch time equivalent, which makes fighting, as you can imagine, a lot of these enemies pretty difficult. And they both have an Umbran Climax mode. But I'm pretty sure I'll show that off eventually. I won't be showing it off in this video, unfortunately. I'll be showing it off in the final extras video. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Tag Climax. I'm sure I've missed something, and if I have missed something, just let me know in the comments. There's not really much else to say about it. So I'm going to talk about what I've got planned for this series of videos. So I did say I was going to show off everything in Bayonetta 2 that involves showing off all the cards. Not on all difficulties, because I am not that sadistic, but I will show off every card. Unfortunately, commentary on Tag Climax by myself or even with a friend isn't going to be very interesting, so what I've decided to do, and I alluded to this in one of the Witch Trial commentaries, is that I'm going to turn it into kind of a podcast thing. So I've invited a couple of guests along. There's going to be 3 different podcasts, by the way, with 3 different guests, all with sort of varying experiences and quote-unquote qualifications in Bayonetta, because the Bayonetta community is so big. But yeah, we'll be talking about this game. There is much to be said. But yeah, once you finish your 6 verses, you get this, and it tells you whether you win or you lose. You get an award, and based on that award, and I think based on what difficulty you chose for each of the verses, you get a certain number of points, which goes towards your ranking. That last bit there, total points. But that's it. So join me for the podcast whenever they come up. See ya.